The next speaker is Comrade Elizabeth from the Socialist Caucus of the New Democratic Party.
Good evening, sisters and brothers. My name is Elizabeth Bice, and I'm here to convey the full solidarity of the NDP Socialist Caucus. I'm the SC Federal Treasurer, and I'm also a retired member of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers. Mumia Abu-Jamal, vice of the voiceless, victim of racist capitalist injustice, is in grave danger, as we know. After decades on death row in Pennsylvania for a crime he did not commit, Mumia could be executed soon. We cannot, and we will not, allow that to happen. The U.S. Courts of Appeal for the Third Circuit meets today to decide whether Mumia is to be executed or granted a new trial. The Third Circuit announced its decision to hear the case almost immediately following the circus-like spectacle orchestrated by Philadelphia's Fraternal Order of Police, its district attorney and mayor, and a host of other bloodthirsty would-be Mumia executioners. They rallied last month to a premiere showing of Tiger Hill's twisted new film, The Barrel of a Gun, which promised to reveal critical evidence proving that Mumia was the killer of police officer Daniel Faulkner on December the 9th, 1981. Lies, you're right, brother. While Ill's film showing made the front pages of the Philadelphia Inquirer, neither that paper nor any other could bring itself to affirm Ill's unproven conclusions. Indeed, Ill's thesis that Mumia had participated in an ambush of Faulkner was never offered by the prosecution itself during Mumia's trial. The only thing the court should do is throw out the racist conviction and free Mumia at last. A win for Mumia will be a win for the working class and humanity. But to win, we have to fight. And the fight starts here at home. It starts with convincing our neighbors, our community organizers, our social justice movement, our unions to become aware, to take a stand. 3 million Canadians belong to unions in this country, and many unions are affiliated to the New Democratic Party. We in the NDP Socialist Caucus have been raising the issue of Mumia in our union and in the labor-based NDP for many years. There is a tremendous support for Mumia, but we need to see it expressed in the form of mass rallies, mass demonstrations, solidarity strikes, and protests. We will continue to struggle. With your help and involvement, reaching deep into the heart of the labor movement, victory will come sooner. And as I said earlier, I am a member of the Canadian Union of Postal Workers, and my union also endorsed this rally today. And on behalf of the 10,000 members in Toronto, I bring you solidarity from them.
Yeah, I just want to bring the firm solidarity of the Communist Party of Canada to this united front. I think it's great that so many people with so many different views can get together on an issue, and I just feel, you know, we can't let this man die. He's such a great soul. If I don't usually use that word, but it really reminds me how the police are the shock troops of the system of capitalism, and behind them is the whole legal system. Just briefly, free Mumia now.
Free Mumia now. Next speaker is Comrade Debbie from the Partisan Defense Committee.
At today's proceedings, the racist courts are deciding either to kill Mumia, reinstating the death penalty, or entomb him for life. We say no. Over 25 years of legal proceedings starkly show there is no middle ground. It's either fight for Mumia's freedom or accede to his legal lynching or life in prison. Ever since the PDC took up Mumia's case over 20 years ago, we have sought to mobilize the broadest forces in his defense. We fight for class struggle defense, for mass protests for Mumia's freedom, based on labor's social power, its ability to choke off profits that are capitalism's lifeblood. Genuine united front action in Mumia's defense means unity in action and complete freedom of criticism. It's not a peace pact with the reformists, like those who organized today's protest. These liberals and reformists undermine the fight for Mumia's freedom by diverting protests into pleas for a fair new trial. Some of those who spoke tonight like the rep from Socialist Action and Fight Back, who's here. They joined in the witch hunt against Black Bloc protesters and have called for a public inquiry into the police repression at the G20 protests. No illusions in the capitalist state. No illusions in the capitalist state.
Jail the killer cops! Jail the killer cops! Jail the killer cops!
Free Mumia!
Okay, the next speaker is Sister Phoenix from the Community Justice Committee.
The Community Justice Coalition is a group of about 80 people from different backgrounds, including ex-prisoners, community justice workers, lawyers, and healthcare providers. We came together in February of this year to resist the Harper government's neoliberal law and order agenda, which seeks to lock away more people for longer periods of time. We endorse the event because we want to stand behind the message. We want to say no to the death penalty and no to the execution of Mumia Abu-Jamal. Historically, we have seen prisons, police, and the death penalty used to silence, divide, control, and oppress racialized communities, poor communities, and our social movements. In the United States, when Reagan announced the war on drugs, he announced a war on black liberation and a war on people. And now, even though Canada has stood by and watched the devastating effects of U.S. laws such as mandatory minimums, we in Canada are facing the same state-enforced repression. This repression comes to us in the form of Bill S-10. If passed, the bill will implement mandatory minimums for drug offenses, and like many other damaging pieces of legislation, mandatory minimums will have the same devastating effects on racialized and poor communities here in Canada as it did in the States. We at the CJC value Mumia's insight, and we feel it is important to take steps now to abolish the prison industrial complex. Prisons don't work. They can't be fixed because they do exactly what they were designed to do. So we say abolish the prison industrial complex and free Mumia.
Hello, I'm Guy. We've all been involved in this campaign for a long time. In 1999, I went to San Francisco area for his birthday. I remember in Santa Cruz, we got a whole bunch of high school students out to come to a demo. And I remember what the longshoremen did. It was absolutely brilliant. I hope more unions do the same thing here. Because this issue is very much related to what's happening here. Mumia talks about the prison industrial complex. And what do we see now with the Harper government and that goofball Stockwell Day, right? Building more jails, passing more laws to railroad us. Another thing, with the G20, we saw the criminalizing of dissent and the cancer that Mumia warned us about 10 years ago is spreading here. When we fight for him, he's one of the best examples of a revolutionary, of a great humanist. We also fight for ourselves because we have a common enemy. You know, all that stuff with the SPP. We have the elites here and the elites there emerging more every day. And actually, let me use a quote from Mumia. He says that when he reminds us that words like justice, law, civil rights, and yes, crime have a different and elastic meaning depending on whose rights were violated, who committed what crimes against whom, and whether that person works for the system or against it. Much better than anything Obama has ever said. So let us use our anger and indignation that we all feel to build a better society that, you know, we dream of, along with Mumia, society based on equality, cooperation, and social justice.
I am Alex from Common Cause. We're an Ontario-wide anarchist organization. And I mean, this means a lot to me here. Reading Live from Death Row by Mumia Abu-Jamal was a really formative experience for me in really teaching me about the sort of institutionalized and systemic racism of the so-called justice system. And I mean, it's not just in America, it's also here as well. Here in Turtle Island, you'll see that, you know, while Native or Indigenous population only make up less than 3% of our population, they currently comprise almost a fifth of our prison population. And yeah, so thanks to Mumia for pointing this out. And free all political prisoners, free Mumia Abu-Jamal, free Alex Hundert, and abolish the racist prison industrial complex. Thank you.
Okay, the next speaker is Comrade Julius from Socialist Action.
I'm also Vice President of OPSU Local 532 and a delegate to Toronto, York and Region Labour Council. We are here, all of us united in the cause, to demand freedom for Mumia Abu Jamal. The situation is urgent because his life is threatened again. Mumia has been in jail for 29 years for a crime he did not commit. Mumia, once a young Black Panther, always a voice of the voiceless on radio and in print, was framed by the Philadelphia police in 1981. Death row in U.S. prisons is filled with hundreds of Black men like Mumia, victims of a corrupt system based on class exploitation and social oppression. America's jails hold 2 million workers, most of whom are the casualties of capitalist rule, while the criminal lords of business and commerce walk free. The purveyors of war and environmental destruction prosper, while Arabs, Muslims, and people of color are incarcerated on mere suspicion, are seized and locked up, and are deported to torture regimes in the post-9/11 war on civil liberties. The Canadian Anti-Terrorism Law and the U.S. Patriot Act are tools in the arsenal of a failed economic system. It is a system that relies on deceit and intimidation in order to preserve the rule of a tiny parasitic minority. Those who stand up for justice like Mumia, like the courageous civil rights attorney Lynn Stewart, like the heroic Aboriginal leader Leonard Peltier, who was hand-delivered by the RCMP to the FBI, pay a huge price in fighting for the rights of all. For all political prisoners and the unjustly detained, this November 9th coalition is a positive example of how we can work together in a spirit of solidarity and respect. Of course, there is much more to be done to win the entire workers' movement to take action for our just cause. Down with the racist death penalty. Down with the boss's austerity drive. Free Mumia now!
Free Mumia Abu Jamal! Brick by brick, wall by wall, free Mumia Abu Jamal. Brick by brick, wall by